last, and I would say the most difficult part of this essay is the third part, which is what is Thomson's solution to the trolley problem? And the first step is understanding what the problem is. The second step is understanding Philippa Foot's solution, proposed solution to the trolley problem, and why Thomson rejects it. And so the third step is understanding what Thomson's proposed solution to the trolley problem is, which is not easy. Um, let's remind ourselves of what the problem is. The problem is, how can we be right in both cases? The case of the trolley and the case of the doctor harvesting the patient's organs. How can we be right in both cases? That is, that it's okay to switch the track, killing one to save five, and that it's not okay for the surgeon to harvest the patient's organs, killing one to save five. What is the relevant difference between the two cases of killing one to save five that justifies our different moral evaluations of what's okay to do? If that's what we're looking for, what kind of answer does Judith Jarvis Thomson give? I think the first is the nature of the threat. In the case of the trolley, the threat is against the people in the tracks. It's an existing threat. And she talks about distributive justice. That is, in an existing threat, we sometimes feel that it's okay to redistribute the threat from five to one, or from the many to the few, for a pre-existing threat. But that's different from creating a new threat to get the best outcome. I mean, the trolley is out of control and it's going to hit somebody. So it's an existing threat. The case of the 5 sick patients who need organs, they are threatened by death, obviously, from organ failure. But the threat against the healthy patient to harvest his organs is an entirely new threat. It's not an existing threat. And she thinks that that's actually quite important, and that's a big part of saying, in the one case with the existing threat of the trolley, that it's unfortunate but permissible to redistribute the threat. She does not think, we do not think intuitively, that in the case of a doctor who's thinking of harvesting somebody's organs, to create a new threat to get the best outcome. So I think that that's part of it. The other part of it has to do with rights. One of the things that she quotes from another philosopher is that rights trump utilities. That is, this may not always be true, and in fact it's not always true, but it's a general rule. That is that we want to get the best outcome, which is to say that to some degree we're all utilitarian. But there are limits to what we can do to achieve the best outcome. And some of those limits, at least, are the rights that people have. That is, if we have to violate somebody's rights in order to get the most utility, the so-called best outcome, then even if by violating those rights we would get the best outcome, we know that we can't do it. Another essay that I read one time, these rights are called defeaters. Excuse me, I can't spell anymore. As it normally we do that which achieves the best outcome in our guess, but that general rule is sometimes defeated by the existence of people's rights. That is, if those things are incompatible, preserving people's rights and getting the best utilitarian outcome, then we have to go with the rights. The rights defeat the utility, or trump utility. So she thinks that this has to be taken into account. For instance, thinking about the trolley driver or the bystander switching tracks, which would be killing a person in order to prevent killing 5. So it would be getting the best outcome. 1 is killed rather than 5. Why do we say that it's probably okay? Because the means by which we kill the person on the tracks They're not a violation of some right of his. Right? That is, switching tracks is not in itself a violation of the person's rights. It may sound a little empty, but compare it with this idea of shoving somebody off a bridge to stop the trolley. Right? Say that person was sufficiently large that we knew that if we shoved them off of a bridge into the path of the oncoming trolley, that of course it would kill them, but it would stop the trolley and save the 5 people on the tracks. She says intuitively, we we know that that can't be done, even though we would still be killing one to prevent the killing of 5. Why? Well, because shoving somebody off a bridge is a violation of their rights, whether it kills them or not. Having interfering with their body in such a way, no matter if it leads to a bad outcome or not, is a violation of their rights. So we intuitively we know that we can't do it, even if it's uh, towards the best outcome. Um, so, what would the solution be? Well, there are sorry, the 2 scenarios. The one, the trolley. What she's tried to establish is that there are morally relevant differences between the two. The trolley situation and the organ harvesting situation, which account for and make consistent and rational our differing judgments on them. So the problem, to a certain degree, then is solved. What was the problem to begin with? The problem was that we were being inconsistent, that we were saying that one thing was okay in a situation and another thing in another situation was not okay, but it turned out they were the same thing. So either it's okay or it's not okay, but it can't be both. What she's tried to show is that they weren't the same thing to begin with, that the trolley situation was an existing threat, and we do believe that it's okay to redistribute that threat to achieve the best outcome sometimes. And also that in the trolley situation, the means by which we do what we do, that is, threaten the 1 rather than threaten the 5, are not an inherent violation of that person's rights. That those 2 differences are relevant enough and to account for our basic intuitions before we even think about it too much, that the one is okay while the other isn't.